NASA had the smartest engineers on Earth. The best technology money could buy. And decades of experience in space. Yet astronauts still died. Not because space is evil. Not because rockets are unreliable. But because someone ignored a warning. This is not a story about explosions. This is a story about decisions. Whenever a space disaster happens, we say one simple sentence: the rocket failed. It feels comfortable. Machines don't argue back. Machines don't have egos. But when you read NASA's own investigation reports, a disturbing pattern appears. The technology usually worked. The engineers usually knew the risks. What failed was the system that decided to proceed anyway. This documentary is about that system. And why it failed again, and again, and again. Apollo 1 never flew. There was no launch countdown. No liftoff. It was a routine ground test. Inside the capsule were 3 astronauts: Gus Grissom, Ed White, Roger Chaffee. The cabin was filled with pure oxygen. Engineers had warned NASA repeatedly, pure oxygen is extremely dangerous. The hatch opens inward. In a fire, escape would be almost impossible. These warnings were not rumors. They were written, documented, reviewed. But NASA was under pressure. The Soviet Union was winning the space race. Delays were politically unacceptable. During the test, a small spark occurred. In pure oxygen, fire doesn't spread, it explodes. Within seconds, the cabin became unsurvivable. All 3 astronauts died before the hatch could be opened. NASA later admitted, the risk was known. The warnings existed. The decision was still made to proceed. The lesson was clear. But it wouldn't be remembered. By 1986, NASA was selling a new idea. Spaceflight was routine. Like boarding an airplane. Like taking a bus. But engineers knew something was wrong. The shuttle's O-rings became brittle in cold temperatures. Launch morning was freezing. Engineers begged NASA management, do not launch. Management replied with a sentence that still haunts engineers today: prove that it will fail. In safety engineering, the rule is simple: you prove something is safe, not the other way around. NASA reversed that logic. 73 seconds after liftoff, Challenger disintegrated. 7 astronauts died. The investigation confirmed, engineers were right. Management ignored them. If you like space stories that NASA doesn't like to talk about, subscribe. Because this pattern wasn't over. In 2003, Columbia was damaged during launch. A piece of foam struck the left wing. Engineers noticed immediately. They requested satellite images to assess the damage. Management declined. Why? Because foam strikes had happened before. And nothing serious had happened. This mindset has a name: normalized deviance. When repeated danger starts to feel normal. During re-entry, superheated plasma entered the wing. The shuttle disintegrated over Texas. NASA's final report concluded, the physical cause was foam. The real cause was culture. Different shuttle. Same decision failure. Apollo 1. Challenger. Columbia. Different decades. Different technology. Same pattern, engineers warned. Management minimized. Schedule pressure 1. This was not bad luck. It was a systemic failure. Apollo 13 suffered an oxygen tank explosion. 3 astronauts were stranded. 320,000 kilometers from Earth. This should have been another disaster. But something was different.
Another disaster.
This time, engineers were listened to. Ideas were debated. Ego was removed. The mission survived. Not because of luck. Because someone finally said, let the engineers speak. People complain, NASA is too slow. They're right. And that slowness is written in blood. Every checklist exists because someone died. Every delay exists because a lesson was learned. Speed feels exciting. But speed has a history in spaceflight. SpaceX tests fast. Fails fast. Iterates fast. NASA documents. Reviews. Eliminates risk. Neither approach is evil. Neither approach is perfect. The danger begins when schedule replaces safety judgment. Space is not cruel. Space is neutral. Physics doesn't care about deadlines. It doesn't care about politics. Ignore reality, and space responds instantly. NASA didn't fail because of rockets. NASA failed when it stopped listening. Progress in space isn't about pride. It's about humility. If you want real space documentaries, no hype. No hero worship. No fake drama. Backhand index pointing right. Subscribe to Astrocatastros. Because space doesn't forgive arrogance. But it never forgets lessons.